My guest today is Broadway and television actress and YouTube star and former student at the Beginnings Workshop, Tessa Netting. Hi, Tessa.
Hello.
My first question has to be, guess what my first question is?
Something about Harry Potter?
Why, yes, how did you know? Why Harry Potter? Explain Harry Potter.
Okay, Harry Potter came into my life very unexpectedly. I was in 3rd grade, but then when I found out that they went to school on September 1st is when they go to Hogwarts, that was my birthday. And after that, I was like, I'm a witch. This is it. It was really my first literary obsession. The values behind Harry Potter are just universal, and they're things that you hold on to your entire life. I learned things that I read in Harry Potter. They're like the value of friendship, the value of love, the value, like those are things that stayed with me and that influenced my entire life.
I know you went to my workshop, you went to Beginnings.
Yes, I did.
So tell me about that in the context of getting more involved in acting and Broadway and all that.
Well, you came to my mom's dance studio.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and it was one of those things. I grew up a dancer, and I was always interested in theater, and I was always interested in it, but I never thought it was like possible. It was a weird thing until I went to your workshop. It opened my mind that this could be like a career, and that if I really it really got me focused. You're not wearing makeup, you're not looking at cell phones, you're not looking at, it's just you. And you're really learning so much about yourself, and you realize that in that moment, oh, I really want to do this. Like, I really want to focus on that. I want to put in the work. I'll do whatever it takes to do this.
What was the moment when, I mean, I talked to so many kids, so many of my students, and they described the moment when they got the call, you know, like you got the shirt. What was that like? What was that moment?
Billy Elliot, that was such a long process.
And it was your first
It was my first
breakthrough thing, that's always going to be special.
Right, exactly.
Starfish identity.
Yeah, of course. Oh, this is my favorite story. Okay, so this is the best story. My dad is the best. Okay, I didn't have an equity card. I went to an open call with 1,500 girls.
Wow.
So I drove in from Pennsylvania at 4 in the morning for my Billy Elliot audition.
Wow.
And I forgot my tap shoes. And I realized, like, when I got there, I was like, oh my gosh, my tap shoes. And we had just enough time. My mom called my dad. She's like, you need to come in and drive them, because we can't, like, no stores are open. And
your dad did not drive.
He drove, and I was ready to go, and my name was on the list, and I was waiting. I had my number, and literally my mom runs downstairs. My dad opens the window, throws the tap shoes. She grabs them, runs up, go. They call my name. I go in the door.
And then you get a Broadway show.
And then I get
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. No, seriously, my dad is my hero.
You are very confident. You come across very confident. When you were a beginnings kid, when you were a student at my workshop, you were confident. There has to be another side where Tessa, where there's struggle. It can't all be as easy as you make it seem. What's that side of Tessa Netting like?
Oh, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that people just, you know, it's one of those things, and I talk about this on my YouTube channel a little bit, because I have this thing that I do called the Lumos Project, and it's something I do on my social media, and every month I post a picture and I write like Lumos in it, and I put it on my Instagram, and everyone else like posts their own pictures with Lumos in it, and it's spreading light and love.
You've mastered it's almost like a karma thing. If you give and you help.
I think that really, if you put out love in the world, you're only going to get love in return.
How do you deal with anxiety?
The biggest thing that I've learned is to really be okay with who you are, and you need to be able to love yourself before anyone else can love you and before you can love anyone else. If you are not confident in the person that you are, if you don't love yourself, you need to work on that. Because I really needed to work on that, especially like after Billy Elliot was done. It was hard for me because I had to leave the show because of an injury. I had a back injury.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did. I did over 1,000 shows in the show, and because I did so many shows and I did it full out every time, my back just threw up, like it couldn't take it anymore. So it was one of those
things. Emotionally,
things.
it was a part of you. So
oh yeah,
it was a loss.
It was a huge loss. I never got a last show. I never got to say goodbye to everyone, and then it was one of those things where I'm like, I can't do Broadway. What do I do? So I had to figure out what to do, and that's kind of where YouTube sort of came in, but I'm so thankful for it now. But at the time I thought it was the end. I thought it was the worst. I was like, this is the worst time of my life, but it led to something even better.
Tell me about Bunk'd. Tell me about the Disney show, the series that you shot.
It's so fun. I haven't really ever told anyone this, and this is so crazy.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first. I was supposed to go to Disney World with my family as like a little trip, and then I got the flu. And because of that, next week I had my Bunk'd audition, but if I would have been in Disney, I wouldn't have been able to go. I just kept getting called back. It was one of those things where the role, you had to be able to take risks, and you had to be not afraid to take risks, because the character is very physical. It's very like, I roll out under a bed, I dive into a vat full of cranberries. No stunt person. No stunt person.
Where is Tessa 10 years from now? In your dream fantasy, what happens?
I mean, I love creation. I also love seeing things come to life. Like when I was at Broadway Con this past year, and I wrote some parodies for the opening ceremony, and when I was in the rehearsals and I saw something that I wrote a parody to Good Morning Baltimore. It was like, Good Morning Broadway Con, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
When I saw that being professionally done, and it was even more than I could have ever. I was crying. I was crying. I couldn't help it. It was so beautiful. It was something that was in my brain, and seeing it come to life it's one of the most beautiful things. There's nothing like it.
I want to thank my guests, Broadway and television actress, YouTube star Tessa Netting, one of my former students at the Beginnings Workshop, who I'm very proud of and very pleased is taking many of the principles that she learned and embracing them, and putting them out there through her own work for many, many young people to follow.